When you have a rental property, you obviously want to make money with it, right? Everyone does. But not doing things the right way can be really, really costly. And so in today's video, I want to share with you some of the most common mistakes that are really expensive and that can really kill your profit. So stay tuned. For the best landlord tips, I hope you'll subscribe to our channel, because that's our goal, is to provide you with the best information and situational stories so that you can learn and be the best landlord that you can be. So hit that bell so you'll be notified every Wednesday when we post a new video. So are you staying up to date on all aspects of managing your rental property, or are you even doing the right research before you buy that property? My name is Sue Richey. I'm the principal broker of Richey Property Management. We're a residential property management company in the Washington, D.C. area, and we manage over 300 properties for owners that we serve who are all over the world. So let's dive in and talk about 7 mistakes that you can avoid that will kill your profit. Okay, the first mistake is not doing the proper homework or taking your time to really make sure you're buying the right property. I know it's exciting when you want to buy the first one or even the second one. I know for us, it was really challenging, or I guess we were a little bit nervous about buying our very first one, but once we bought the first one, it was like so exciting that we bought the second and third. But we did make some mistakes. Some of them we didn't really lose a lot, but we've made money on the ones we've kept. But it's really important that you crunch those numbers and that you take all of the expenses into account. Factor in a management fee, even if you don't use one. Make sure you have the vacancy time period in there. Make sure you factor in the right amount for expenses for repairs and maintenance and turnover costs. And make sure you do your homework so that you know what's a realistic rental amount. Obviously, if you can get X, that's fantastic. But if you don't get X and the market is terrible or it's a really bad time of year, you might get the bottom of the range of your rental prices. Be conservative in your estimates and factor that in. If you get more, great. Also, if a home that you're looking at purchasing seems like a steal, there's a very good chance that it needs some work. When you factor in all of the expenses to get it up to the point where you can put it on the market for rent, you need to be really, really detailed, because as we all know, with renovations, the budget usually gets blown out of the water. So pad it a little bit and make sure you know exactly what you're getting into, because otherwise that steal that you're getting isn't really going to be that much of a steal anymore. The second mistake people make is skipping tenant screening. I talk about tenant screening so much in these videos because I think that that is one of the most important steps in all of property management. Doing your job, doing a very thorough and detailed tenant screening means that you have really done the background check and you're getting the best person in there to take care of your property. They're going to pay on time. Well, they'll take care of it like it was their home, their own home. So do not skip tenant screening. And if you want, please watch our video about tenant screening where I share all of the things that you need to do in order to be really thorough. The third mistake people make is not doing property inspections. We have a client who's a great client of ours, and we rent out their property and they manage their own property. But when it's time to turn over the tenant, they call us. So I remember one time she said to me, you know what, we went to go see the property. It was really not in the best shape. She said, you know what, I should have come here. I really didn't come here much. The tenant paid the rent. I thought everything was okay, but they really didn't take care of the property. So then we had a lot more work to do before we put it back on the rental market. So skipping inspections or not doing the proper move-in and move-out inspections can be really costly. For example, on the move-in, if you don't do a thorough documentation of the property, then when it comes time for the tenant to move out and you don't really have anything to compare it to, you're going to really have a hard time charging the tenant for damages, because they're going to say, I didn't do that, and you have no proof. So don't skip those inspections. Really, really important. So have you made any major mistakes with your rental property? If you have, we'd love for you to share them, because we're all about helping each other here. If you post something, that might just help someone else and they don't make the mistake later. So post something in the comments below. Okay, the fourth mistake people make is not taking care of maintenance issues in a timely manner. This sends a message to the tenant. So you have a tenant and they call you about all kinds of different repairs, and you just take your sweet time. You don't really think it's a big deal. You don't respond that timely. Well, it kind of sends a message to the tenant that you don't really care about your property. You don't seem to care to fix things that break, so why should I care? Well, that's not the message you want to send. You want to be the landlord that is responsive, that takes care of things, that keeps the property in a condition so the tenant's happy. Because if they're happy, they stay, you don't have to turn over the property as often, and it just works better for everybody. And also by taking care of problems up front and being timely with your responses, you can nip bigger problems in the bud. So if you have a small leak, if you fix it now, it may prevent it from becoming a much bigger flood down the road. So just address your issues in a timely manner. It will make everyone happier and it'll help keep your property in really good shape. So the fifth mistake people make is they take way too long with tenant turnover. So every day your property is vacant, it's costing you money. That means every day there's no rent coming in. So the way we do this, in order to prevent a lot of time between tenants, is that we start looking at the property at least 60 days before the tenant leaves. So if you go to the property and the tenant says, I'm gonna leave, go there at least 30, 60 days before, look around, figure out what you need to do in terms of turnover repairs. What does the yard look like? Do you need to do some freshening up to get some better curb appeal? Do you need to paint anything on the outside? Do you need to paint anything on the inside? Maybe there are some fixtures to replace. Maybe you can do some of these repairs while the tenant is still there. It's going to be hard to paint and carpet and things like that if the tenant's living there, but maybe you can do some of those other things and line up the contractor for immediately after the tenant moves out, after you do your move out inspection. And then you can get it right back on the rental market right away and hopefully get another tenant in there within 30 days. And if you market the property early as well, instead of waiting till the tenant leaves, you can also avoid vacancy. But sometimes the properties just don't look good enough to do that. So it's better just to wait and let the tenant vacate, and having a clean slate might be a little bit easier. So it really just depends on your situation, but whatever it is, just take the time, go in advance, figure out what needs to be done, and get it all done as quickly as possible. The sixth mistake people make is keeping sloppy records. We talked about the move-in, move-out inspection and documentation about that, and that will affect how you handle the security deposit and what you can actually keep in the security deposit. The other thing about keeping bad records is obviously when it comes to doing your taxes, it's going to be a disaster. You don't need any fancy software. There's a lot of software out there for people who manage their own properties. We have what we think is the Cadillac of property management software, but we own a big business and manage a lot of properties for other people. If you have one or two properties, there are some small products out there, but really if you keep a good Excel spreadsheet, you keep something else like a log that logs exactly when you went to the property, conversations you've had with the tenant, keep all your inspections all in that file, just have everything organized. It will make your life so much easier. So keeping good records, super important. The last mistake I want to talk about is getting too personal. So you want to be a great landlord, you want to be friendly, you want to have a good relationship with the tenant, but there's a point at which you kind of need to stop. So being really personable and friendly is one thing, being too personal is another thing. If you get too personal, then you start getting involved in the tenant's life, and you might start getting a little, empathetic with them, and okay, they've had a hard time, I'll let the rent slide. Well, 1 month turns into 2 months, it can turn into 3 months, and before you know it, you don't have any rent, you don't even know what to do, and it becomes a big problem. So it's really important that you can be friendly, responsive, do all those things that I mentioned, but at the same time, enforce the lease, enforce the rules where you need to, and be firm, and it'll go a long way. So there you have it, 7 mistakes we see a lot from people who manage their own properties. I want you to avoid those mistakes. So look at those, don't do them. And I hope this video has been helpful. If you liked it, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and share this with other landlords. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time.